Dr. Maybe Shahzada Adnan, he's like a deputy director from the Pakistan Meteorological Department. Dr. Adnan has over 20 years of experience in meteorology and has authorized more than, I think, 40 international research publications. He leads national initiatives on drought monitoring, anticipatory action, and climate services enhancement at the Pakistan Meteorological Department. His work focuses on integrating satellite-based drought indices, ground observation, and community-based reporting system to strengthen the early warning and risk-informed decision making in Pakistan. Dr. Adnan, over to you.
Thank you so much, and thank you, your tech team, for inviting me at this meeting. Actually, as we all know that Pakistan is always been a highly vulnerable to all type of hydrometeorological and geological disasters. And recently, you have heard in the news that Pakistan has recently experienced the worst flooding in our eastern part of the country, and almost 80 million people are badly affected by that flood. So, due to the highly variability of the climate, sometimes we experience flood, sometimes drought, which makes this region more complex in terms of disaster risk management. As in Pakistan Meteorological Department, we have a very dedicated center which is called the National Drought Monitoring and Early Warning Center. That center has been established back in 2005 after the worst drought of 1990 to 2002. It is a 3-year longest episode of drought that was experienced. Next. Yeah, this is the outline of my presentation. I will quickly run down because the limitation of the time. So, if we talk about the climate of the country, if you can. Next. Yeah. If you see the climate of the country on the top left, you can see the annual climate cycle of the country, and you can see in July and August, the blue bars are very high. This is purely the monsoon system, which Indian summer monsoon system will normally propagate from the Bay of Bengal and Indian Ocean and bring a heavy amount of rainfall. Where another system are the Western Depression system, which normally bring rainfall during the winter season from January to March. So these are the two major rainfall systems, and which contribute, if you see in the pie chart, the monsoon contributes 45% of the annual rainfall in the country, whereas the winter months contribute 31% of the rainfall. So the failure of any of the system impact the area, then emerge the drought-like condition. If you see the trends on the right side, you can see that as climate change is impacting and global warming is impacting the world, similar case in Pakistan also, that the trend, you can see that the maximum temperature, minimum temperature, and mean temperature are increasing, and you have heard about the lot of glacial lake outburst flooding in the northern parts of the country over the HPH region. This is due to the rapid increase in temperature, and if we see, and they are significantly increasing per year, 0.2 degree, 0.02 degree Celsius per year. And if we see the annual precipitation, you can see a lot of you can see a lot of variation in the bars, because we have two rainy season in the country, as well as a very good lift irrigation system, which is originating from the foothills of the Himalayas, and snow and glacier melting contribute to enhance the runoff of the river, which is the backbone, or you can say the lifeline for the agriculture community. So the overall the rainfall is increasing, but it is not significant. Next, please. So if we look about the natural hazard over the last 40 years, this is the report that has been compiled by the World Bank back in 2021, and you can see the most of the natural hazard are associated with the floods. Whereas in drought, you can see it's a 0.9%. I disagree with this figure. The reason behind that, and this is one of the, I think, point of concern, because for any hydrometeorological agency as well as the DRM agency, that uh, drought is not a tangible disaster. It is not like the flood, like the earthquake, geological disaster like the heat wave or the Gulf landslide. Drought appears, but it is not tangible. But when the impacts start to be appear, then the people come to know, okay, but the damage has already been done. So that is the limitation which undermines sometime and make its quantification, questionable for the community and for the DRM agency. You can see 0.9%, but when we see the episode which has been experienced in Pakistan since 1951, we have multiple episodes of the severe drought, like from 1952 to recently in 21 and 22. And this year again, we are foresee that in the winter season we have seen that the rainfall will be suppressed, and then again a drought episode will appear in the coming months. Whereas I have talked about the longest episode of drought of 1990 2002 when 4 million people were affected, but I still say that these figures are very low as compared to the impacts. And back in 2010, the devastating flood, 20 million people were affected. Then the heat wave of 2015, 65,000 people were affected, and then monsoon 2022 and the 2025 pluvial flooding, and this time the riverine flooding that devastated and millions of people were affected. So next, please. If we talk about by seeing these figures, we see that multiple episodes of climate extreme events are experiencing in Pakistan, and that's why Pakistan ranks in the top 10 world most vulnerable country which is affected by the climate change. These are the, on the left side, you can see the propagation of weather system. The red line shows those systems which are originated from the Bay of Bengal or the monsoon current from the Indian Ocean or Arabian Sea, and they affect the eastern part of the country. Whereas the other system from December to February or March, these are the westerly system originate from the Atlantic Ocean, and they propagate and then impact over the western part of the country during the winter. But because the westerlies are throughout the year they are propagating, and sometime when they interact with the monsoon, then the convergence of these easterly and westerlies sometimes create a very heavy rainfall, and due to these heavy rainfall we experience riverine and urban and flash flooding in the northern part of the country. If you see on the right side, you can see that what monsoon means for us. You see that almost two-thirds of the country is highly dependent upon the monsoon. You see the eastern part of the Pakistan, particularly southeastern part, the dark blue color, which is greater than more than 70% of the rainfall is contributed by the monsoon. So the failure of the monsoon is one of the major reasons to drought in these parts, from eastern part and some of the central part of the country. Similarly, if we see the figure on the bottom, the winter, these are the 167 districts, and you can see that the western part of the country are highly dependent upon the winter rainfall. So, whereas the winter rainfall in the eastern river contribute almost 10 to 20% or not more than this. So, the failure of the winter rainfall is one of the major reasons to emerge the drought condition in the western part of the country. Next, please. This is the more limit of the monsoon. If you go back, yeah, this is the limit of the monsoon region. But due to the climate change and the highly variability in the monsoon over the last 1 decade, we have experienced the monsoon is now penetrating mostly towards the south of the country and some of the central part of the country, and it reaches to Afghanistan as well as the eastern part of Iran. So this is another big challenge for us due to the high variability, and most of the reservoirs are built in the northern part of the country. Uh, we have not major reservoirs. This is another big challenge. That's why we experience more inundation in the southern part. And if there is a monsoon failure, rivers are become dry and there's no water availability, and the whole agriculture belt is affected from north toward the south. Next, please. If you see, this is the on the left side. This is the hazard classification map that has been generated over the 147 districts by taking different types of data set, the drought frequency, intensity, various drought indices over the last from 1951 to 2017. Data has been incorporated to conduct this study, and vulnerability index hazard classification was conducted, and this is verified by using integrated context analysis with the assistance of World Food Program. And this is the drought hazard map, district drought hazard map of Pakistan. If you see that the southern part of the country, you can see that you will see an extremely vulnerability of drought. And most of the western part, and these are those regions where winter rainfall, suppressing. And in the episode of drought, we can see the return period is just like 1 out of 3 years. We have experienced a severe to extreme drought in southern part of the country. And on the right side, on the top, you can see the four map, mild, moderate, severe, and extreme drought. And you can again see the southwestern part and some of the central and eastern part experience drought. The frequency of the drought is very high. We experience mild to moderate drought once out of 3 years, sometimes seasonal drought, sometimes flash drought, and sometimes this drought prolonged 2 years. If you see on the bottom, you can see that almost out of 145 districts, 43 districts are highly to extremely highly vulnerable, which makes one-third part of the country. And this is the agriculture belt of the country where cotton, sugarcane, jute, wheat, maize are cultivated and highly dependent upon the rainfall as well as the canal irrigation, and sometimes the other sources of small dams from where the water demand are meet to fulfill the crop water demand. Next, please. So this is the model which Pakistan Meteorological Department at NDMC is using. We are in the phase of update this model, keeping in view the lot of challenges. I will discuss it later. Because monitoring is one aspect and prediction, is another aspect. So for monitoring, we are using multiple indices of the drought, which are well known as SPI or SPI. For satellite, we are using the normalized different vegetation index. There are multiple indices, but we have evaluated those indices which perform well for the climate of the country. And the reason behind that, the number one, we are relying not a single index. The reason behind that, single index always mislead you. So you should have a consensus of multiple indices. Similarly, the satellite-based indices have a lot of limitation. When you are monitoring the monitoring phase and you have to monitor the vegetation, sometimes when it's sowing stage, ripening stage, some indices not perform well, so you have to rely on the multiple indices. Similarly, the moisture condition index that has been already incorporated. This is for the monitoring, and we are earlier we used these to manually to observe that and develop the product of drought monitor. But recently we have integrated all those indices based on the scientific evidences, assigning the weight of each of the index. I will show you in the next slide. And based on that, we are monitoring that. The main reason to help the DRM agency for anticipation, for anticipatory action, so that before the onset of disaster, we issue the advisories, alerts, so that they can anticipate and minimize the impacts of drought. The other aspect is the prediction. Obviously, prediction is one of the biggest challenge because the seasonal models, the seasonal forecasting rainfall models are not up to the mark. Because of its scientific limitation and its accuracy. So we are working on it, and hopefully, maybe in the coming 1 to 2 months, we'll be in a position that we will issue drought outlook, or maybe we can't call it a prediction and outlook, that can help the DRM agency to develop some contingency plan or some plans for anticipation and resource mobilization. Next, please. This is the you can see the figure. The figure on the left side is the old conventional figure which we normally use by taking the different indices. We analyze that and then develop such kind of map over the part. But recently we have integrated all those indices by assigning the weight and like SPI 3 month time scale, SPEI for 1 month time scale. There's a logic behind that. Why were you using this time scale? The soil moisture index, condition index, vegetation health index, temperature vegetation dryness index, seasonal dependency, all those, and you can see the difference of the maps. And you can see that we have classified into different the drought monitor in terms of different, classes, like instead of extreme or severe drought, because a DRM agency or even a planner does not know what I have to do. So we convert into, for to facilitate him to convert into the watch, advisory or pre-alert, alert and warning. The protocol has been developed based on these, four modes of information. Next, please. This is the risk drought matrix for and in which the threshold has been defined and what kind of anticipatory phases and key actions are recommended. And we have vectored this from the district disaster management authorities, provincial disaster management authorities, the irrigation, agriculture departments, and the 3 to 4 or 4 to 5 key anticipatory actions, what they have to do when such conditions are arising. And these are the threshold that has been defined, what kind of anticipatory phase it is, and what kind of drought it is, and what kind of action they have to do. The 3 to 4 or 5 key actions. For example, if I say if there is a advisory, the orange color greater than 55, pre-position the fodder for the livestock, what kind of action are proposed? Designate drought alert in SMS form, judicial use of water, mobilize the health and veterinary teams, coordinate NGO stakeholders for contingency support to initiate targeted subsidies, cash support, and for alert, obviously the action will be different because the severity has been increased. So fully activate the district disaster management authority, launch emergency advisory information. And when the warning is issued, what kind of action are proposed? You can see that distribute drought relief packages, voucher, cash compensation, because their forecast-based financing projects are already initiated in Pakistan. So what kind of action are planned? Similarly, reallocation of shelter for severely affected communities and disease surveillance, veterinary service intervention, and post-disaster recovery and agriculture. So these are the threshold. Based on the threshold and category, the key anticipatory action has been planned. Next, please. So I think one of the things that I see where over the last 2 decades in my experience that we normally issue the forecast, we issue the drought monitoring advisories alert, but there is no information of the stop mechanism. When the situation is over, we should inform, being the National Hydrometeorological Agency, that okay, the situation is being normalized or going to be normalized, or if there is some unprecedented thing happen, if there is drought-like conditions, suddenly you receive a very good amount of rainfall, at which stage you are receiving the amount of rainfall. So what action you have to do? So these, based on these phases, which we have defined the 4 phases, we have developed a stop mechanism that what a DRM agency should do. We are recommended the action. If it is a stage 1, what kind of action? And example, if with the what kind of crop it is cultivated, because we have 2 cropping season, the Rabi, in which wheat is cultivated in the Kharif season, the summer season in which sugar, cotton, and and rice is cultivated. So what kind of action they have to do? If it is in the phase 2, what kind of action? Phase 3. So these are because due to the limitation of the time, I have already shared this presentation. The participant may go through this in detail. Next, please. This is the two trigger rule for stopping. Technical trigger is that verify the composite drought index using hydro indicator of SPI, rainfall, soil moisture, and VHI. And institutional trigger for DR emergency formally endorsed by the district drought task force or the provincial disaster management authority to de-escalate. Because if their information is there and ground information are getting that the things are improving, then you have these to adopt these two trigger for declare the things to normalize. Next, please. This is the thing that I want to highlight in the at this forum because we have a lot of experienced person here that sometimes it has been observed that a lot of misinterpretation of the drought are observed where the community is not well aware and it creates problem for the disaster risk management authority. On the left side, if you see, this is you see the peacocks. It is the desert part, southeastern part of the country, the Tharparkar region, where a cold wave experienced back in 2013 and 14. But unfortunately, it was reported in media, social media, print and electronic media that the drought has impacted this region and due to which the livestock, the birds, the peacock have been impacted. But later, when it come to know that it was due to the pneumonia, that the peacocks were died, and it was due to the cold wave because a lot of infants were died at that time. More than 200 infants were died. Because this is a desert region where the desert temperature range was daytime the temperature was like 40 degrees, nighttime temperature below 0 degree due to the high variation of temperature. It was impacted, but this misguide the DRI emergency. On the right side, back in 2022, we experienced the heat wave. It was unprecedented heat wave for 41 days in Pakistan, and you can see that the water ponds have been dried, and you can see on the bottom some of the livestock was, they were died. And it was again in the media that the drought had been affected those region, and due to which livestock were died. But my point was at that time, if you see the size of the livestock, they were healthy because they were attacked by the heat stroke, not by the drought. After the heat wave, then the episode of the drought, flat drought, were appeared. Next, please. So this is one of the biggest challenge. This is the heat wave that experienced back in 2022, 95 districts were affected. And this is a new thing that we should counter, the flash drought. It is a new term. We have heard the flash flood, but for flash drought, everyone knows that drought is a slow, creeping, ongoing phenomena, but climate change has impacted the definition of drought. And now we are experiencing more episode of flash drought after the heat wave. And the impact of the flash drought is much more devastating than the conventional drought episode because the short term directly impact the livelihood, the livestock, the agriculture, and productivity. So we are experiencing for the last 4 to 5 years the multiple episodes of the flash drought after the heat wave. Next, please. So if we conclude that that climate change, as we all know that in Pakistan also we are a witness that we are experiencing the hydrometeorological disaster and the trend are toward the warming. So we will experience more drought episode or maybe more intense extreme events like in terms of flash flood, floods, drought, flash drought. So drought indices also indicate that the southern part of the country, except the north, the northern part, we are experiencing a good amount of rainfall, where the southern half, the dry condition prevailing, and these areas will be much more vulnerable towards the drought. The drought, the teleconnection, like the Pacific Decadal Oscillation, the Nino indicators, the tropical South Atlantic indices, they high, the association of the global teleconnection of signals with the wet episode and dry episode in the country. So this is another good insight for us. Whereas the data set of the satellite like GPCP or PRMM are the best tool because the network is very sparse in the country, the observation institute network. So we have to rely on the satellite-based, rainfall which is a very, I think, a helping tool. Whereas if we see the trends over the country, in the northeastern part, we are having a very good condition. It is going toward the better side, but again, the southern part, the southern provinces, the Sindh and Balochistan, they are the hub of the cotton sugar cane. So they are, the situation is not, future trends showing that they will be much more vulnerable. Whereas the CMAP6 models also have the consensus that the situation are worsening for the 21st century. So overall, if we say that dryness is increasing, mean we are becoming more vulnerable towards the drought in terms of its severity, in terms of its spatial extent, and in terms of its intensity. That's all from my side. Thank you so much.